mean, I'm always open-minded to hearing about that lead source, or, listening a little closer about the sales process. And it's not that they're radical changes, talking about the sales process, maybe in particular, it's not that they're radical changes, but there's a lot of smart people in this industry. I mean, a lot of really smart people in this industry.
Yeah.
And so I just try to listen and gather things from these folks as I come in contact with them and interact with them, or hear them on podcasts, or see them at events, or talk to them, or whatever. And just, I'm always looking to try to polish and refine and make our system work a little bit.
This is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast, brought to you by G4 Marketing. Interviews with today's top home improvement entrepreneurs about marketing, sales, money, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, here's your host, Brian Kaskavalsian.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. I'm really excited today. I've got with me Trent Stone from L.J. Stone in Indiana. I don't know exactly where in Indiana, somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, we're kind of northeast of Indianapolis, about an hour northeast of Indianapolis, out in the boonies.
Out in the boonies a little bit.
Yeah.
So Trent runs a great business out there, and so we're going to chat today about his journey and what he's learned along the way. I know, you being a client, and you and I have not had enough conversations over the years, but we have had enough for me to know you're a very good operator, profitable. You've been doing this a long time. You've got your systems and processes and people in place. And so you probably don't, recognize that as much as I, somebody from the outside might. But let's dig in here. So give everybody your background. Give everybody the 2-minute backstory on you and L.J. Stone.
Well, L.J. Stone is named after my father, Larry J. Stone, and he actually started in the remodeling industry back in the mid to late 60s.
Wow.
Back, if you've ever watched the movie The Tin Men, he was a tin man, and selling aluminum siding and storm windows and roofing all around Muncie, essentially. And he formed L.J. Stone Company in '67, and just kind of built it really with a lot of sweat and a lot of shoe leather out on the streets, and eventually grew it to the point that we still cover a good 2/3 of Indiana, I would say, somewhere in that realm. And so his background was always in sales and marketing. He's not an installer. He doesn't really know anything about installation, but and that's kind of how I came into the business. And I had some siblings that worked, some brothers that worked in the business with me also, and I can still remember as a young kid, probably 10, 12 years old, maybe, he would take us out to job sites, to a neighborhood where a job was going on, where siding was getting put on a house, and he would basically drop us off, and we would pass out door knockers and hang them on the neighbors' doors around there, trying to drum up business. And so, I just kind of worked in the business evenings and summertime, starting to talk about 15, 16 years old, and kind of had a wide range of experiences, made windows for our sunroom product, and chased permits for garages and just different products that we did. And eventually, after graduating college, I kind of ended up back here through a series of circumstances, and that's really where I kind of started getting into the sales, into the business, and the marketing into the business. I didn't really think I had much aptitude for sales, but it just sort of, through a series of circumstances that happened, and that's really, on a professional level, kind of where I started getting into the business from a sales perspective, and became pretty good at it, and got a great appreciation for methodology and systems and processes and following a method in the house, and just a closing sequence that you would go through, and did that for many years, 10 years, run 2-3 leads a day for 8 or 10 years. And at a certain point, my dad wanted to kind of start backing away from the business and not being so involved on a day-to-day business. And he had a kind of a perfect storm situation with me being in there, and two of my brothers being involved. So he started backing away from the business, and I started taking on more management, more back end type stuff. And that's probably been 23 years ago now.
Wow.
And since then, he has completely retired out of the business for probably 15 years, I would guess, and doesn't have any more ownership in it or anything like that. He still comes in. We have a little closet that we set up for him where he can come in and do his paperwork and keep track of his own personal affairs. But we've kind of moved him down the way a little bit.
Yeah, give him somewhere to go every day, something to do.
Right. He goes to Florida in the wintertime, and then when he comes back, is the office that he was in, it's been moved down two or three spots. And
yeah,
he says one day he's going to end up out the driveway. Yeah. He'll know when he's not allowed to come in, when he's just stuff's out in the driveway.
Yeah. Cool. So just let's to give everybody some context. You sell bath systems.
Yep. So we have, over the years, we've sold a lot of different primarily exterior remodeling. We've dabbled in a lot of different things over the years, but over the last 20 years, I would say, we have really focused on just kind of 3 buckets. The one-day bath situation, replacement windows and replacement doors, and then outdoor living type products like patio covers and pergolas and sunrooms and things of that sort. And as time has gone on, our business has really exploded in the bath area, and to where that now makes up probably 75% of the work that we do.
Yeah.
And the other stuff, the sunrooms and the windows and doors, we primarily just market that to our previous customer base nowadays. We don't really actively take that to market anymore. But we do with the bath products. We're out there, really working to generate leads out of that.
Yeah. How many jobs did you complete? Just say last year.
Ballpark 600.
About 600 jobs. Okay. How many salespeople?
Currently, we have 9 salespeople.
9. Okay, cool. So it's interesting that you when you were talking about your dad and you talked about yourself, you talked about sales and marketing. You went straight to sales and marketing. And interesting, as you very well know, many of the most successful people in this field come from sales and marketing, and understand that this really is a sales and marketing business. Yes, there's people, there's process, there's finance and all of that. But really at its core, this is a sales and marketing business. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think there's a lot of people out there that either don't completely get what that means, number one. And number two, I think as we're seeing now this year, leads are going to get a little bit tighter. They're going to get more expensive, and they're going to get a little harder to get. And some of these companies that don't understand marketing, that don't have the people in place or the systems in place, they're going to have a tough time. And so can you talk a little bit about the sales and marketing and kind of, how do you guys do it there? How did you develop that yourself? When did you realize? I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but any of those would be good.
We can peck away at that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from a sales perspective, and a marketing perspective, and really in a lot of aspects of our business, my dad was very fortunate. He came in contact with a guy named Dave Yoho back in the early 70s, and Dave
Yep.
is still around. And
I saw Dave last week.
Yep, he's
95.
a dynamo. He's a dynamo. Came in contact with Dave when my dad was a young man, and just really made a great impression on him, and just was bought into the system reigns supreme philosophy from the get-go. And his energies and his strong suit was always sales. And so he naturally kind of gravitated to that end of it, although, we implemented it through all aspects of our business. But on the sales end of it, we've always had a real process-driven, I don't want to say script, but a process-driven system that we followed when we went into the house, through a series of steps. It was, the 6 steps or 10 steps, whatever you want to call it, but
yeah,
a step sales process. And we've always followed that in one variation or another. And over the years, it's evolved like everything. It's not, the language isn't the same. It's, the things have been a little more modernized, and I still occasionally, even though we've been doing it a long time, I'll still connect with other sales training organizations just to kind of refresh what we do and put another set of eyeballs on it, and kind of, bring it, try to keep it current and polish it. We're never done trying to polish that and make it smoother and easier. And on the marketing side, it was kind of a very similar process. We were always, for many, many years, a real heavily outbound focused type of a remodeling company. And our call center was really the heart of our marketing efforts. And we just beat the living crap out of those phones, calling people. And
define,
and
yes. Can you please define outbound a little bit more, just for people that may not understand what you mean by that?
Outbound is, make marketing. You're generating the lead internally through making calls to people, or canvassing, or at events, someplace you're coming in contact with the customer, either face to face or in a telephone situation. And in our case, we did a lot of shows and events, so we came in contact with them that way. But we also built a really large database out of those shows, and we would just work them repetitively in the call center. And it was just it was and is a predictable way to generate leads on a nice, consistent basis. Now, we had some challenges in the early 2000s, late 90s, when the do not call laws kind of became all the rage. And we actually had the distinction of being one of the first companies that got fined by the Attorney General in the state of Indiana because of our telemarketing. And we thought we were in compliance, but we thought we were in compliance. Come to find out, we weren't.
Yeah,
that was an interesting situation. I was actually in a customer's house on an appointment with a new sales rep. And I see the little crawler come across the TV, because this guy had his TV on. I see this little crawler come across the screen
with your name.
Said L.J. Yeah, it said L.J. Stone, and I thought, what is that? And,
no way.
It sounded down, so I didn't know what it was. And we end up selling this window project to this guy, and I get back to my office, and I've got a couple calls from people, wanting to kind of delve into this whole situation. And it wasn't a big deal, and we didn't have a big issue out of it. But looking back on it, I kind of laugh about it. But at the time, it was kind of a little bit.
That must have been a little scary, yeah. And so what I love is you didn't skip a beat. You saw it on the TV in the prospect's house, but damn it, you're going to write that order.
Yeah, we just kept right on trucking, and just
and that's the beauty of a selling system too, isn't it? It's, well, wait a minute, I'm on step 4. Forget what it says over there. I got to go now to step 5.
You got to finish the company story, man.
Hold on a minute. Yeah. So
and that's just kind of what we've done from a marketing perspective. Again, the do not call laws kind of changed a lot of call center dynamic. I mean, it's still is a very viable source of leads. Matter of fact, we're
Sure.
working, you know, with one of the folks you connect with, Megan Beatty, and we've
Yeah.
worked with her a couple times over the years, and we're kind of doing a little refresh in our call center on some things that we're doing, but we've had to expand a lot of the marketing that we do. It's, you know, internet and some TV and, you know, pay-per-click and some lead aggregators, a lot of different things now that we do to sort of
Yeah.
drive leads into that call center.
Yeah. So it's interesting, you know, one of the things on this podcast that I always tell people is when you listen to the successful people in this industry, success leaves clues. And you got to listen to what are they all say the same. And so just so far in, you know, just a few minutes, we've talked about having a step selling system. We've talked about make marketing. We've talked about diversity in the lead, in your lead sources. So you've got to make marketing, you've got inbound coming in, but you're doing a lot of different things. You're not relying on just one thing to bring you leads in.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. You know, I heard, I guess yours, Charlie Gindell, one time bringing up trying to bring on a new lead source every year.
Yeah.
And we don't succeed at that every year, but we're always looking what can be another lead source, because
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to get tied down to where too many of your leads come from one particular source.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something I see with people a lot, and it scares the hell out of me. You know, it's the most dangerous number in business is one source of leads, one salesperson, one key person in the office, one key install, whatever. It's the most dangerous number in business. And the people that are more diversified, you know, look, you lost a source of leads potentially in the do not call list. But if you've got 5 other things or 10 other things that are still bringing you leads, you lose one, you're okay. You know, it's a little, you know, it's a bump in the road, but you'll move on. You have other things going on.
Keeps you from being held hostage.
Yeah, you don't ever want to be held hostage. Good, that's a great point. You also, so here's the other thing that I noticed you say too, is that you use the word refresh. Oh God, you said something else too, but basically you're always looking to polish up. You're always looking at, well, we're doing it like this. This is the result we're getting. But now let me look over here. Let me hire Megan and see, okay, can we do a little bit better? But, you know, you don't see a lot of that unfortunately, you don't see enough of it. Of course, with you guys, that's every day. But can you talk a little bit about the importance of that? And, you know, because you could just rest on your, you know, hey, look, this is our system. This is how we've been doing for 20 years. You know, we sell a lot of stuff. We make money. I don't need to keep looking at every little detail of the business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, I have a philosophy of just trying to learn something. And, you know, I enjoy learning. I like finding out new information. I like, you know, things that I didn't know before, and that kind of just carries over into the business side of it. And so, you know, over the years, as I have come in contact with other companies or different spins on the way things are done, I mean, I'm always open-minded to hearing about that lead source, or, you know, listening a little closer about the sales process. And it's not that they're radical changes, you know, talking about the sales process, maybe in particular, it's not that they're radical changes, but there's a lot of smart people in this industry. I mean, a lot of really smart people in this industry.
Yeah.
And so I just try to listen and gather things from these folks as I come in contact with them and interact with them, or hear them on podcasts, or see them at events, or talk to them, or whatever. And just, you know, I'm always looking to try to polish and refine and make our system work a little bit better. You know, maybe the language could be updated and be a little smoother. The close doesn't have to be as traumatic for the sales rep and the customer. It can be a really just nice step-by-step process. I mean, we've always had closing. We've always had a a step system for that.
Yeah.
But it can get a little traumatic. It can get a little tension in the air. And, over the years, we've kind of learned some things and just sort of created our own hybrid system in a sense. But, it's things that I didn't really invent any of them. I just picked them up and learned them from various pieces and just kind of grafted them together over the years and then smoothed out the pot and really just going out and running calls relentlessly, running appointments relentlessly with the sales reps to try it. Before I would have them do it, I would go do it.
Yeah.
And we would run it and they'd watch and we'd do some and all right, that didn't work quite so well. We need to polish this just a little bit until we got it, really going pretty good over the last several years. And it doesn't mean we don't change it and update it, but that's just I have that mindset of just I like to learn.
Hey, let's pause here for a quick break. I've got an exclusive opportunity just for home improvement business owners who want to achieve permanent profitability once and for all. You see, in our business, too many contractors are working way too hard and taking home way too little. It happens to a lot of people. Too many. Happened to me. It may be where you are now, and it's okay, because none of us were taught how to make money in this business. Sure, we know how to sell jobs. We know how to get those jobs installed, but we were never taught how to properly set up our books, our profit model, our pricing model, and our wealth model. And as a result, too many owners are stuck on the hamster wheel of inconsistent and erratic profitability. This is why I'd like to invite you to our exclusive profit workshop happening September 12th and 13th right here in Miami, Florida. Over 2 days, you can join a select group of other business owners and transform your relationship with profitability and wealth attraction by getting a deep understanding of the mechanics of profitability and the mindsets behind wealth. To reserve your seat, go to www.thewealthycontractor.com/profit. thewealthycontractor.com/profit. And for a limited time, you can use code podcast23, again, podcast23, to get $300 off your ticket. So go to thewealthycontractor.com/profit. When you're there, you'll get all the information about the event, plus you'll learn about our better than risk-free guarantee. Seating is extremely limited, so don't delay. Secure your spot at the Profit Workshop now, and let's get back to this week's episode. So on the marketing, let's stick with marketing for a second. So on the marketing side, I know this is going to be a silly question for you, but how are you tracking the effectiveness of your lead generation efforts?
So we've got multiple tracking numbers for inbound calls and, of course, through our website and through various lead generation tools that we use on the internet. Those all have their own individual source codes, and everything feeds into our CRM system, which we happen to use Lead Perfection, but everything flows into Lead Perfection with an individual either a tracking number, a phone number, so we know where they called from, what source they saw that in, or if it came from an internet source of one sort or another. Of course, that's the great thing about the internet is you can dial it down to exactly where it came from, and we'll just make sure those are associated correctly in the system.
Yeah, and then what are you looking for in that tracking? And look, the reason, why I'm asking you this is because, to me, if we're going to put money out for advertising, don't we want to know what's working and what's not? And don't we want to know, well,
Sure.
if this is producing this result, X result, okay, we know that, but can we get it to do a little bit better? Can we test a different offer? Can we test a different headline? And so, when you're doing this, what specifically are you looking for in the tracking? How do you know when something's working and something's not?
Well, I mean, our default that we're looking for is the cost of the lead source versus the net sales that are coming in.
Mhm.
And, that'll vary based on the source. And if the cost is right, then we're looking at how many leads is it generating, how much effort is it taking to get through the aggregator leads or something like that. But by and large, our first thing that we're looking at is the cost, and then we're paying attention to demo rates and close rates and what there might not be anything wrong with the source. It might be a situation that maybe the salespeople don't know how to handle the lead. So if the cost may be high, it doesn't mean we're going to just pull the plug because the cost is high. If the cost is high, but we're getting a lot of inbound leads or a lot of leads out of it, we're setting a fair number of them, we're issuing them at a pretty good percent, we're getting a lot of demos out of it, but we're not getting many net sales. Well, that's most likely a sales malfunction. So that's something maybe we need to bring the sales guys in and kind of polish up, work on. How are we handling this type of lead? What kind of objections are you running into that's preventing you from getting to the close? Because in theory, if we're getting into the demo, we should be getting a close coming out at a certain percentage of the time. And if we're not, then obviously that drives the cost of the lead up, but that may not, again, it may not be a lead problem. It may be a sales problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. The last, I would say the last 3 weeks or so, me and Addie have both had to deal with a number of contractors. We have a rental house that came up. The tenants moved out, and so we have to have some work done there. And then in our house, there were some things that needed to get done. And it's shocking to me. It's shocking to me that you reach out to these companies, and it's like, for those that are listening, and you wonder, if you're ever wondering why maybe you're not making as much money as you should be making, or you're working too hard, or you got to look at your entire process the way that Trent just said that he's looking at his process. I mean, I just on Saturday, okay, I'll start with the Saturday. On Saturday, I finally called. I needed a contractor to come and do something. I called a company, okay? I got the answering service. Like, okay, great. Got the answering service, but they were all right. They took all of my information. This was Saturday. We're recording this on Wednesday. When do you think they called me back?
Not even yet.
They haven't called me yet. You're right. You're right. And I got them out of a magazine that I know they're paying for. And so they're going back to the thing, and they're looking at their numbers at the end of the month, and they're saying, well, this doesn't work. We're not getting any phone calls from them. Really?
Exactly.
I did it again today. Okay. At 1, I have the exact time. I did it today at 1:57. I needed a plumber. So I went online. I did Coral Gables plumber. The very first Google services one that came up, I just clicked on that one. Okay. Clicked on that one. And I filled out the form, and I gave them my cell number, and I said, this is my preferred method. I got a text message back of what I wrote. I haven't heard from the company. It's 4:01. I still haven't heard. They're plumbers. I mean, I should have had a truck at my house by now. It's shocking to me how there are people out there. They paid for that click, and it's not cheap. And and then they'll say, well, the advertising doesn't work, marketing doesn't work. And then, okay, so now let's go to the sales side of it. So on the sales side of it, oh my God, these people are like, first of all, they're trying to qualify you over the phone. They're having conversations with you on the phone. It's like, no, you don't have a conversation. Just set an appointment. Sell me on the value of having somebody come to my house. So these guys come out to the house. Addie's looking at doing a generator, which is like looking at a bath system or looking at a roof, or it's the same deal. It's a replacement deal. It's in the same ballpark of money. It's got to be sold. It's got to be sold face to face. She called 2 companies, and one is worse than the other. The one guy got mad at her because of his company is the one that set the lead. She told the person, hey, I got somebody else coming at 10:30, which you never want to hear, but okay, I want to have enough time to where, okay, let them come out or let me get in there before them. And it's just shocking to me. And neither one of them is going to follow up. Neither one of these people, one guy showed up, the other one didn't even show up. The second one that didn't show up got mad at the way the lead was set. And he was the owner, by the way. So anyway, so it's when we have these conversations and we talk about the processes that we go through and the training and the scripting and the role playing and all of that, it's, I hope that people listening to this are thinking, well, wait a minute, there's a lot more to this than just taking a call, sending someone out, and then emailing them an estimate or just giving them a price and saying, well, let me know when you want to do the work. It's like this stuff has to be sold.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the marketing money that that the marketing money that you've spent, those clicks or whatever you're doing, that's your money at risk.
Yeah.
You're putting money out on the street to generate a return in the form of some leads. And if you don't jump right on that, handle that in the proper manner, everything you said, that's the great thing about this business is there's so many competitors, so many people in the industry that are like that.
Yeah.
If you just make half of an effort, you're head and shoulders above them.
Yeah.
And the same thing from a sales perspective. If you show up and do half a demo,
yeah,
you're going to be well ahead of your competition, because most people are just, I don't know if it's, I don't want to say lazy, but just, they just take the path of least resistance oftentimes.
And I was thinking about, so I had another contractor. So this guy started off great. So we had landscape lighting put throughout the house. The first guy that did it sucked. I had to have it all redone. It's taken me like 2 years to find somebody, just somebody that'll even come out. Okay. So this dude finally comes out, tells a great story, young guy, energetic. And I'm like, okay, great. I was the easiest sale ever. I mean, all I was looking for was, you're going to show up. You sound like you know what you're talking about. All right, let's do it. Okay. So this guy comes out, does the job. It's like $15,000, I think. So it's not a cheap, it's not a small amount of money. And this dude comes out, and immediately on the first go round, there's an issue. So I call him back. He wants his money. I'm like, I pay him right away. And then I'm like, okay, he says, oh yeah, we're going to be out there. They don't come. And then I got to call them. And then they come out. The second time I added more stuff. So it's been a week. Some of the lights are out. He did this other thing that required. So anyway, my point is, I'll spare you the whole long story, but it's like, I think 2 things. As I was thinking about this whole thing, and I've got my marketing event coming up, LeadCon. So I'm all thinking just marketing. And I thought 2 things. One is they're super sloppy. There's a lot of sloppiness. But the other thing is, and I want to ask you about this because I know how you feel about it, is I don't think that they look at it from the customer's point of view. I think that they're so wrapped up with what's going on with them and their crews and their payroll, the collecting money, but selling the next job, getting the next lead, that they are not thinking about the customer. And I know you have a great reputation. You take care of your customer. And so can you talk a little bit about that? Is how do you view the customer, and what are some of the things that you do to make sure your customers are taken care of?
Well, I mean, the customer is like the most important asset that you have. The lifetime value of those guys is incredible. I've told you we've done a lot of different kinds of projects over the years, and you know, every year a good percentage of our business is repeat business, referral business that we get from these folks, and you know, I mean, it's just critical in keeping your business going the way that you want to.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know as we do anything magic in terms of how we handle the customers. You know, I would say it really starts at the top, the attitude that the ownership has, the leadership has, of how valuable the customer is and how you're going to treat them and how you're going to take care of them. Because yes, I know what you're talking about. I've ran into those kind of folks before that, you know, they're not that concerned about the customer. They're just another job, just another deal. And obviously, you know, we're not holding hands with every homeowner, but we try to put ourselves in their seat. So if they've got an issue, there's some kind of a problem, we don't look at it as, you know, what's the problem with this customer? Why are they being such a jerk? Why are they such a pain in the neck? First thing we try to do is look at it from our perspective of where have we maybe dropped the ball? Did we not communicate correctly? Did we not touch base with them when we were supposed to? Did we not follow up and do something that we promised them we were going to do? It's that we look inward first of where may we have dropped the ball, and then if we did, we own it. We don't try to escape it. We don't try to argue with them about it or anything. We just own it. And you know, I think a lot of that is, maybe it doesn't seem like it makes sense at this point, but a lot of that is about just getting the right money when you're selling the job, getting the right margin. And you can afford to have these people around that maybe have a more customer oriented attitude than the salesperson does. You know, salespeople aren't real good about following up. So, you know, we've tried to create systems and we use some technology, and we've got some folks in some positions that their role is to shepherd the job and touch base with the customers, communicate with them on the phone, or communicate with them through Hatch or some other technology that we use. And so they just don't think you forgot about them. I mean, that's the thing where that really sets them off, is if they feel like they're just in a black hole. So, but again, we try to look at it, you know, that's always been my perspective. Well, if this customer's mad, I'm not immediately thinking, well, you know, holy cow, it's dealing with the public. It's another one of these jerks. It's not, and I mean, there are some, but most of the time, a vast majority of the time, it's an issue on our end, and it's a chance for us to kind of fix and self-correct and hopefully not make that same mistake again.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the clock here, and I want to ask you about, you know, so you've owned the business yourself now for how many years?
Golly, I've been
That
buying. Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably the started buying the stock end of it probably 15 or so years ago. We kind of did it in some chunks over the years, but we closed that out maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But I have been running the show for at least 20 years.
So, okay, so you've been running the show for 20 years. So what is your job in the organization at this point?
You know, over the last couple of years, I have really started trying to focus more on replacing myself and, you know, trying to develop my leadership team to a higher level. You know, again, I interact and kind of come across some of these companies that have these just really fine-tuned, well-running machines, and they've got these leadership teams in place. And you know, I've been very fortunate to have brought some people on board and had a lot of folks been here even since when my dad was here. I mean, we've got folks that have been here for years.
Wow.
So I've been fortunate in that respect, and I've attracted some good people and kind of kept them to where they know the culture. But you know, at the end of the day, I kind of realized, you know, I'm making too many. They're coming to me with the issue when we'd have our daily staff meetings. They would, you know, they'd bring their issues to the staff meeting, and you know, I'm the one with the answer. You know, they're kind of looking at Dad, you know, looking at me. Hey, Dad, how do we answer this? What do we do here?
Yeah.
And so over the last several months, I've really been much more conscious of not being so quick to the answer, and putting them in a position where they're reporting to each other as a team of peers of, here's what's going on with me, here's what's going on in this area, and then what is the correct thing that we need to do here? What's the next step that we need to do? And trying not to just jump in and say, okay, we'll do this or do that, or, it's been a challenge for me. I'll be honest with you. It's a little bit of a challenge, but that's my role right now is I'm trying to replace myself in from that perspective.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I say all the time is, as entrepreneurs, one of our unique skill sets is the ability to solve problems. We're great at solving problems, but I like what you're saying about how let them start to solve their problems instead of coming, because the easy answer is always come to us, because we're always going to have a solution. We're always going to have a solution.
Right.
So how tough has that been for you?
It was, I have to remind myself about it. I've really been diligently practicing that process for probably the last 6-7 months. And I have to remind myself occasionally, especially if the heat really gets going and there's some kind of a fire that needs to be put out. I really have to kind of step back and let them solve it, because otherwise, if I just say I want them to develop as a leadership team, if I just say I want them to handle those things, but yet I'm jumping right in and handling it, they're never going to do it. And it's been tough, but it has been working very effectively.
Yeah.
And so now, when I leave and I'm gone for here at the end of this week, I'm going to be gone I'm going to go fishing for a week. And,
nice.
Total confidence they're going to run it and they're going to deal with it. And at the end, I'll come back the next week and we'll do a little debrief of what went right, maybe what didn't go so right, and what do we need to work on.
Yeah. What do you think, if you could give your self advice back, say 7-10 years ago, is there something you would have done different, knowing what you know now? Is there something you would have done different back then, or given yourself a different piece of advice?
Probably don't hesitate to try to take on some new, for me, it's always thinking about the leads. And it's something that kind of held us back for a few years was a hesitancy to kind of dive into some media type advertising, some television advertising and things like that. We kind of always, it just was beat into my head that TV is a loser and you cannot make leads with that. I'm just using that as an example, but
yeah,
so we always stayed away from that kind of stuff because, again, our stable datum had always been a call center, outbound calling. And so I wish I had turned that corner maybe a little quicker than I did and got into some other, more inboundish type leads, some of the internet type stuff that's going on, some of the, some media things, some pay performance programs that we're involved in now that I wish I'd got involved in, earlier. But that's probably the main thing.
Yeah. So as now you're kind of working on delegating more off to your team, less of them coming to you looking for answers. So what do you want to do? What's kind of your ideal in your business for the next, I don't know, 2-3 years?
Really just continue to refine the process and maximize our return for the money that we're putting out, maximize the profit, maximize the return that we've got, so that I can afford to put people in these positions to where they share in that. I'm not saying, like from a communist point of view that we're going to just share all the money.
You're right.
But, to draw good people and to have them with you, they've got to be rewarded. They've got to share in the wins. as well as the losses. And so, I've got a pretty good team assembled at this point. They're doing a really good job on keeping things rolling and doing things the way that we want to do. And so really it's just continuing to refine that, continuing to polish that.
Nice.
Give me more time to go fish and
that's the
scuba
answer.
diving.
That's the answer I was actually looking for. I didn't want to press you on it, but that was the answer I was looking for. So more fishing. Well, good. Well, Trent, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. Great story. You're a great operator. You've been a G4 client for years and years and years, and I know you take good care of your customers and your people. And I wish you nothing but continued success. To everybody listening, so I say it all the time, and this is another one of those episodes where if you go back and you listen and you just have a little notepad with you and you listen to some of the things that Trent talked about, and I talked about them, earlier, about step selling and, diversity of leads and people and processes. And it's a lot of the same stuff that you're going to hear from all of the most successful people I know in this industry. And I almost do this on purpose, where I know that they're all going to say the same things. And I want you to hear, the listener, I want you to hear these same things over and over and over again, because again, success leaves clues, and they're there, they're out, they're right there for you to take. And I hope that as you're listening to this and you're getting that information, that hopefully you're able to take that and apply it to your business, and it will, improve your business, because ultimately that's what this is all about. So Trent, again, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And to everybody listening, until next time, this is Brian Kaskavalcian with G4 Marketing Group, and this is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Let me ask you, did it help you look at your business in a different way? Did it spark an idea or ideas that you hadn't thought of before? Do you have a list of action items that you can take and implement into your business or your life today? I really hope so. If it did, I'd like to ask you a favor. Would you leave a 5-star review of the podcast? By doing so, you'll help other contractors find the podcast more easily so that we can help them achieve more success, wealth, and freedom. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Contractor Podcast so you get access to the latest episodes as soon as they're available. We're always striving to provide you with great content, so you don't want to miss what's coming up. In fact, if you haven't already, make sure you go to thewealthycontractor.com and get your free copy of my latest book, The 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor. Just pay shipping and handling, and I'll take care of the cost of the book. And finally, a big thanks to G4 Marketing for sponsoring the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. For over 12 years now, G4 Marketing has been the secret back office relationship marketing team for hundreds of home improvement and home service businesses just like yours. You get the customer, and our proven system turns that customer into 5-star reviews and profitable repeat and referral business. If your home improvement or home services company completes at least 10 jobs per month, they have a solution that will work for you. To find out more, sign up for your free, no obligation, 10-minute discovery call at www.gfourmarketing.com/strategy. That's GFOUR marketing.com/strategy. Set your discovery call up today, and they'll help you set your business up for long-term profits and success. So until next time, this is Brian Kaskavalcian.